So, hello and welcome to Cooking for My Mother YouTube channel. Yay! So this is going to be my first kind of full-length video. I'm going to be posting kind of on YouTube. I might post this to Spotify as well. So, we'll see what happens. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this type of video because I wanted to kind of show off some what I think are, well, not what I think, because I researched, but food trends for fall 2022. Because I was just like, I want to know what's kind of coming up in food and kind of see what people are thinking is going to become more of a bigger thing kind of going into the year. And so some of these things I think are going to be things that, you could see kind of in your everyday live on Instagram or wherever, TikTok, etc. That these are going to be trends that you've seen around. And other ones I feel like are going to be maybe a little more obscure. I tried to go buy stuff for most of these trends, but some of them I couldn't find at my local grocery store, which means they probably are available at more like Whole Foods or something, but we'll get there. So, yeah, I've got some fun little snacks. We'll kind of go right into it after I wake up my iPad, because that is where my notes are. So, we back? Let's get started. So, the first one that I think I'm going to go into is chewy foods. So, chewy foods like boba, tteokbokki, and a couple others are kind of coming into style. So you can kind of see here that boba is kind of like a chewy consistency. These kind of chewy as like an intentional chewy, not just like, oh, I overcooked steak chewy, is coming into popularity, especially here in America. I guess these trends are going to be for America, really, versus other places, because this is already pretty common in Asia, generally. So, intentional chewy flavors. These are kind of making an appearance in American cuisine, so you should be expecting to see a lot more of these. Chewy, let's see. Yeah, so just because these are becoming more accessible and people have more access to these, and social media exists where people have more access to other cultures and with the food, you should probably think of seeing more popularity in these kind of chewy, intentionally chewy foods. So, yeah, think rice cakes, or tteokbokki, which is like rice, noodle, well, not a noodle, but you know what I mean if you look it up. Boba and other things like that. Expect to see a little more rise in that. So if you're looking for things that were more dietary friendly, it depends on honestly what you're allergic to, but most of the time, like, tteokbokki is rice. It's made with rice, so as long as you're not allergic to rice or too much starch, you should be okay with that. Boba itself is made with tapioca, so milk tea is derived from the fact that you put milk into your tea. And I have some tea here because it's relevant for other things, but you basically put milk into your tea. So if you put milk that wasn't actual milk into your tea, you would be fine. Or, you could just do tea and boba as in the tapioca, which are these. Because if you go to like Gongcha or something like that, they don't just have milk tea, they have other tea too. So, we'll go kind of do a segue here. We'll move away from this and we'll go into kind of tea, but not actually tea. I couldn't find what I was thinking of, but I was reading, which is actually very interesting, which would be one that I feel like isn't as well known, but coffee alternatives are coming up in food trends. So if you wanted to not drink as much caffeine, or maybe you wanted a little caffeine, coffee alternatives for the taste of coffee but not having coffee are coming up. And this is actually because, and I read online, that the coffee market has been affected kind of by inflation and like food costs and other things. If I specifically look, it's that coffee prices are at an all-time high this year. And because of that, the price of coffee has increased, and therefore coffee alternatives have come into trend because coffee is expensive now. So, I mean, one of those coffee alternatives is tea, but other things, it could be just that you could have something that is like a coffee alternative that isn't just tea, but these can be one. So, I'm going through all my dry ingredients first because I have like kind of a cooler over here of not dry ingredients. So, we'll do that. But the next one, which I think might be surprising to some, is mushrooms. So, mushrooms apparently are in right now. And you may have seen some of them on social media and stuff. It doesn't fully surprise me, but I was a little surprised by this. So it isn't just like button mushrooms or portobello or the mushrooms you regularly see in stores. I'm talking about like different mushrooms. So these are chanterelle mushrooms. These are dried. But specifically, I've seen like trumpet mushrooms, for example, or enoki, which is like the little mushrooms, and a couple other mushrooms that aren't normally seen in stores are coming kind of more into focus. And, you know, mushrooms can be used for a variety of things, one of which is more of like a plant-based, vegan, vegetarian diet that can be used. But it's interesting, from what I read anyway, which is over here, that because of the kind of damp spring that the Pacific Northwest has been having, or had, it's kind of a while since spring, that there's a lot of mushrooms. So more of them are kind of coming to stores. So, a lot of mushrooms out there. Go check them out. Okay. Next one, which I think isn't too hard of a stretch, but is kid-friendly, allergy-free snacks. So there's a lot of kids out there who have allergies to a lot of things. Peanuts kind of being the one that I most commonly think of, and I'm sure everyone else commonly thinks of peanuts too, but these particular crackers are grain-free. And so people obviously want to feed their kids something that they're not allergic to. So kind of products that are allergy-friendly and are confirmed allergy-friendly are coming more onto the market. I need a little tea. But because of that, we have some kind of more interesting options for kids and also for adults of allergy-free snacks. So look out for those. Okay. And then, not lastly, but lastly for dry ingredients, and this will kind of flow into stuff that needs to be refrigerated, but it is sweet and spicy things. So this flavor profile has been coming into prominence recently. Sorry, I'm just looking at. There's in this summer they've seen a lot of rise of this sweet spicy flavor, with it kind of showing up in a lot of different places, especially. Well, mustard, I feel like, is an especially American condiment. So it's been showing a lot here and then in other condiments as well, this sweet and spicy profile. And so we're expecting, or I'm not the we, but people are expecting sweet and spicy to increase. Just because, think of like sriracha and like a couple of other of those spices, that's been around for a little bit and now people are kind of wanting more of this, so. Yeah. So moving on to things that need to be refrigerated. We're going to start with something that relates to this, which is, okay. So, kind of going to backtrack a little. So, relating to mustard, other things that relate to that are just condiments. So, I posted about this on my Instagram. You can see I've used like almost all of it. It's kind of impressive. But is condiments. So, just basically because of the pandemic, people wanted to kind of jazz things up without kind of doing crazy things. Condiments kind of came into prominence, and people, especially underground kitchens and etc., were making a lot of condiments. This is not underground by any means, but that type of profile of, chefs are at home, they want to make something and sell to the public. The public wanted something that was quick and easy to bring to their kitchen, that would spice things up. And so condiments are kind of making a comeback. So obviously this kind of blends with the sweet and hot or spicy flavor, because condiments can give you that, but it doesn't have to just be sweet and spicy. It can be other things like, well, this is actually sweet and spicy and it is very good, but it can be other things like just pesto and different marmalades or jams or other types of condiments that may not be or like salsas or things that may not be something that people used to get but do now, just kind of for a different flavor profile. But I have a few things to add to that. Is basically because of the increasing food costs, a lot more people are planning to stay at home. Because they're planning to stay at home and cooking fatigue is real, condiments are becoming more of a thing. I mentioned that before, but I kind of want to make that very, very clear, is that that's another reason why the condiment rise, is because food costs are increasing, people are staying at home, they want something flavorful, but it doesn't take them too much time, and condiments are the way to that. So, people are using a lot of condiments now, which is good. This stuff is really good. I haven't tried this yet, but I will. I'm assuming it will bring a lot more flavor to plain lunch meat sandwiches that need flavor. But we'll keep going. So, I think a big one that people aren't going to be surprised by, and I'll show you what I found yesterday at the store, because it's fun. Look at this. Jackfruit company, like fake chicken, basically, kind of. Yeah. It's hard to, it doesn't really say it's fake chicken, it's jackfruit. It's jackfruit that I got the Tex-Mex jackfruit. So, it's for tacos, for rice bowls, for salads. I'm probably going to use it for rice bowls, for lunches, for me, for work. You could take a peek of what's inside. This packaging is very good. And I have some vegan cashew milk cream cheese. So these two things kind of together there's a real rise in vegetarian and vegan food. So these options are more available in stores. People want them more. People are looking into this as an option in daily life. People are trying to cut back on meat, not only for the ethical considerations that there are, but also because of the price. Meat is expensive. Food costs are increasing. As mentioned before, people are eating at home more, so they're looking for ways to save. So using different plant-based things, including mushrooms, which also can be a meat substitute in some cases, is a good way to cut that down. So you expect to see a lot more of these types of things where, it's like marinated jackfruit into something that would probably be considered beef or chicken, beef or chicken supplement. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what comes of this. There's obviously a lot of tofu in stores. Tofu is kind of like the American fake vegan of choice if you're not going for Beyond Meat, but there's a lot of other options out there, so that's kind of why I got the jackfruit version. Speaking which of like veganism, supposedly another trend is plant-based fish. And while I've read about plant-based fish, I couldn't find any at the grocery store I was at yesterday. So that was what I was alluding to in the beginning of the video, was that you might need to go to Whole Foods for some of these things. And I think plant-based fish would be one of them. I've read a little bit about what you can use for that. Trumpet mushroom being one of them. But in this case, I couldn't find any like frozen plant-based fish. So that's kind of coming up, but I wouldn't say it's coming up now because I couldn't find any in like regular grocery stores. And this was in a pretty regular grocery store. So, moving on. Another thing I couldn't find in a grocery store. We're just gonna put some stuff away. Make sure these things don't get... Okay. Another thing in a regular grocery store. Some... Not oat milk. I just brought this as a prop, basically. But apparently oat milk is still on the rise, but not oat milk. So seed milk. So milk made from sunflower seeds is apparently rising in popularity because, as with any alternative, it comes out and people criticize it extensively. So now people are finding a new milk to replace oat milk. Not really replace. I wouldn't say it's... Well, I don't know. Maybe it will be replaced. But seed milk is coming up. There's more producers making it. It is, going to be free from soy, gluten, lactose. It might even be free from some of the other things that oat milk is free from, be a different calorie and etc. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see that. I tried to find some. There's another one I couldn't find in the store, which is kind of disappointing. But hopefully, at Whole Foods and things, I'm sure you'd see it. So, we'll move on. I saw another trend for basically global cuisine. People want, more variety in the stuff that they're having at home. I'll bring back this sauce because it is Asian inspired, Chinese actually. But anyway, not inspired, it's made in China. Anyway, moving on. So the more global cuisine, approachable global cuisine. I don't know what that means per se. I guess that means it's easy to make at home. Which I guess is why frozen meals that aren't American, like chicken nuggets or something, are kind of coming into style, and I think more authentic in the sense meals. So this is authentic Asia, but it doesn't have to be authentic Asia. It can be other things, but things that are more like from a restaurant or a source that you kind of trust. Like you could see the authenticity. Like this is, I think, a good example of that because it has a lot of wording basically on here, and you could go on their website and really know that it is coming from Chengdu, China, and that they're getting ingredients and it's coming from China, and people who know what they're doing are making this, and it's something that is meaningful to people. Not even meaningful, but it's something that is more authentic than something you get off the store that's like Stop and Shop or Market Basket brand. It's something that someone's made with purpose, which maybe sounds weird, but it's nice when you have a face, or you feel like a specific message behind a brand. So I think with maybe not necessarily this, but with some other things that more authentic, approachable global cuisine that you really feel is from a culture and not necessarily just being ripped off by a big chain grocery store, is kind of coming more in. So another trend. Okay, last but not least, snackable ice cream. So I went and grabbed my notes for this because this one I actually feel like is an interesting trend, because ice cream isn't new. Ice cream's, in our grocery stores forever, but now they're saying that snackable ice cream is gonna be what's coming up. So in this particular box, it's like, I haven't even really opened it yet, but based on the cover, it's these balls of ice cream that you could just kind of pop into your mouth. So the calories are lower. If people are worried about that, this one has only 50 calories, and it's also Greek yogurt, but because of like people staying at home and like being more close to their refrigerators, people want, a more approachable and, calorie light snacking experience. So having ice cream that's just little bites instead of like a whole container is appealing to people. So this kind of market's coming up. I also saw things like mochi in the store. Mochi, I think, would be kind of in the snackable ice cream category. It would also be in the chewy category. So you could see kind of there's a lot of crossover between trends. That it isn't just one trend, things kind of go over. So, yeah, I think there's a few others I didn't mention that I don't really see here where I live. For example, one of the trends that they had on here was indigenous restaurants by Native American people. I think because of the area I live in, there isn't that many. I live in Massachusetts, which was a formal indigenous, area, but because, we were one of the first areas of the country that were colonized, that hasn't been for a while. A lot more of those restaurants, from what I looked up, are in California. And then some other ones are eating for mental health, kind of reassessing your relationship with food and the mental health standpoint, and eating kind of with that more in mind. And then one of the others, which I thought was interesting too, was grocery loyalty points. So that, I feel like, is something that is coming up. So this is kind of from a while ago, but if you're using your grocery card or you're going to a specific grocery store, it pays to continually just go to that same store instead of what I think was the previous model, which is that you just kind of go whatever store is nearby. And this is where the grocery stores are kind of going towards, but for consumers it's good too, because we get more of a loyalty from that specific grocery store. We get the points, etc. So hopefully these trends are kind of interesting to you as they were to me. It was kind of fun researching them and figuring out what was new and what was kind of coming in to, our food scene, I guess. It's always interesting to see kind of what's trending and what's coming up. So hopefully you learned something. I know I did. And, it's gonna be the end, but thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out anything else, go check out the podcast, Instagram, and also I've made a few videos on TikTok too if you want to go see them. Like and subscribe, please, and I'll see you next time. Bye!